Hey you all, I am just putting this together as a run through, a trial to see how well this works for all of you that actually end up watching this. It is my first time having a walkthrough trying to explain something that is much easier learned if you are in person and around one another so that you can kind of get that quick on the spot help. Unfortunately, with every way everything is kind of going right now in society, some of us are taking the larger of the precautions, and that's us staying home, uh, not because we want to, maybe, or maybe more like because we have to. But what I wanted to do is with this particular video is, sorry about that, random side note, my cat decided to attack me as I was setting up. So if you see that on my thumb, I apologize. But my cat gets pretty excited when you pull out yarn. So if you're seeing that and it's bothering you, I'm sorry. She just decided to murder my thumb this morning. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is, like I said, this is just a test to check my voice. And as far as the focus goes, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, let me know. That way I can continue and I can move forward with teaching you how to do simple things such as a slip knot, and then some of your most basic crochet stitches like a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, and maybe even a triple crochet. With these videos, I don't want to get too in depth too quickly because, well, you got to start somewhere. So you need to know the basics before you can go over into advanced land. So what I want to do is I want to show you an example of how crochet hooks can vary. And it's very important that you know this because as you get better at crocheting and learning your yarns and learning your tension, which I will explain the difference between yarns and tensions here down the road. But right now, until you learn the tension and different types of yarns, it's really important to know that there are different types of hooks or your tools to use to help you do these different types of stitches. So what I've done is I've gathered some of the tools I've acquired over the years here, and you're going to see them here. I'll move this out of the way. The first one here at the top, it's going to be kind of hard to see, and I apologize because I do have an older webcam, but what you're looking at is a metal crochet hook. It's a 1.8 mm. There you go. And this is used on your very, very light yarns, your very lightweight yarns. So by that I mean your thinner type yarns. Let's see here. For example, I'm trying to see if I have some yarn around me really close. I really don't. I should have brought some out. I will do that though in the next video when I explain yarn weights and stuff like that. But for example, I have a yarn right here. We would never want to use a smaller hook on this type of yarn because it's considered a thicker, or what we would use on a medium or double DK type yarn. The type of hook you use, the larger it is. It's going to, obviously vary the type of stitch you're going to make. So for example, if you're trying to make something more intricate and delicate, like a doily, you would want to use one of these hooks. Because if you look here, and see how close I can get, see how tiny that little, it's hard to see here. I'm trying to get used to this camera angle right there. See how tiny that little hook is? Like, that is super tiny. So when you have really thick yarn and you're trying to put that yarn on there, it's just really not going to hook on there, and you're just going to fall constantly, or it's going to snag it. So that's an example of one type of hook you might use on more delicate, intricate projects. Also note that I said it's more of a metal material, so it's not going to bend when you use the tool and you get used to your movements with your different stitches. It's not going to bend, and you're going to find that each one of us has, like I said, a different type of tension in how we like to pull our yarn through to do our different types of stitches. So if you're someone that is going to stitch or pull your yarn really tight when you're going to do your different types of stitches, I don't recommend a smaller hook. For those people that have a real tight tension and pull their stitches really tight, I always recommend going up a couple hook sizes. And that's important. Like I said, you'll learn that down the road. I keep saying we're coming back to it, but I promise you, we'll come back to it. Moving this to the side. Here's an example of another crochet hook. Notice it does have metal up here, but down here it's of a plastic variety. So it's a little bit more bendy, not quite as much. Only thing you have to really worry about yourself, if you are someone that does like to pull the stitches really tight, like I've met some people that are just like, you know, truly, I'm like, you relax a little bit, relax, but they just their style. You might snap this, so this might not be the best, option to use for your crocheting. But I don't mind it so much. It works well for me, so it's part of my arsenal, depending on, like I said, what kind of yarn I'm using. Moving on, here's another type of hook. Here's a crochet hook. This is an example. Let's see if I can get you to see it. It is an example of what you call a USM 13 or 9mm. Now some of you are going, okay, why is there letters and numbers and then there's a millimeter? Well, that's just different types of companies like to label or brand their hooks in a different way. At the end of the day, you might find yourself with two of the same type of hooks. Let's see if I can find an example with my arsenal here. So, I'm struggling to find a really good example. See, a good trainer would have had all this stuff set up already. Tisk, tisk. I know some of my results people are probably going to watch this and go, Robin, where is that trainer preparedness you have? I am just winging it, and this is what I do best. So anyway, okay, so I might have gotten one here for us. It's close, not quite. Here you go. Here's a great example. I'm sorry for that delay. So I just showed you this plastic hook, right? And I said it was a USM-13 or a slash with the 9mm. Okay? It's labeled by this particular company as an M13. Now this from Boyle is the same millimeter. So it's 9mm. See that? But this one's labeled by the letter N. So I don't want you guys to split hairs. When you're out and, you know, a project or a pattern says, hey, you need to use blank MM. Don't worry about the letters. Okay. Look for the MM. Look for the numbers. Okay. Because it doesn't really matter. Okay, you're gonna find that it's just ever the slightest difference, and I just don't want you to stress too much over it. While you're out and about, I've been talking a lot about tension and stuff like that. There's going to be a tool that you're going to probably see, and it's right here. And what's kind of nice is this too also gives you the breakdown. This is by Boy of the MMs, and you'll see, for example. With a 2mm, it equals what we call in the US measurements a 0. So remember, you got different types of metric systems. So that's why there's a difference. So if someone gives you just the 9mm and there's no US tied to it, right, you can look around and try your hook in different areas and see how it fits. I'm not doing this the right way. I'm having a moment. But see, for example, so this is the N, 9 mm that I showed you. If you come down here and you find that mm measurement on here, it should just barely fit through the hole, right? Because if I try to put it through the 8, it's snagging, it's tight. So it's not a good fit. So whatever goes through the hole is going to be the U.S. compromise. Comparison, I'm sorry, wrong word. The U.S. comparison to that. This can, like I said, can be super helpful as we get down the line. We talk about the tension more. You're going to hear what we call swatching. And swatching is something that until you've had to sit in one spot and rip out a project 5 times in a row, you're not going to understand the importance of swatching. Some people like to live on the edge. It depends on the day for me. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm just going to grab this and run because F it, man. Like, if I have to rip it all out, I have to rip it all out. But some days I'm just feeling really confident in my skills, and I'm not really worried about doing a 2x2 swatch. I'll come back to what 2x2 means, but it's basically 2 inches by 2 inches of an example of a stitch you do over and over just to see how many stitches you get within that 2x2 frame. That's a little more advanced thing. We'll get to that when I start teaching you, slip knots and all this different other stuff. But this is just a really important tool. If you come across it, the most important thing to gather from this information is grab one of these. Usually you can get it for like $1 or $2, $2, $3, $4 more max. Luckily, places sometimes offer you coupons. So if you find a really awesome whole pack of crochet hooks, buy it with like a 40% off coupon or something, and then you'll have it. Going on, just a couple more needles before I finish this up as my example video is, check this one out. This is really cool. I believe that some of you ladies, who said that wanted me to teach them how to do different things with crochet, they wanted to know what kind of materials to get. And I said, I recommend the most popular needles to go out is get between a 5 to 5.5 mm hook. My girl Lauren actually got this for me for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I love it. You're kind of like, that's kind of funky, but again, it's all about your grip and how you like to hold the needle. What works for me with this, what I really love, might not work for you because it is all plastic. So again, just the way the yarn moves with plastic as compared to metal, you're going to find out and you're going to see what you like the best. But this is just another really cool example of a 5.5M, or what they categorize in this company as an I. Last example of the crochet hooks I want to show you is actually a metal wood combination. And I have found that with crochet, I don't really care too much for the wooden handle. When I knit, there's a big difference between knitting and crochet. When I knit, I do prefer a more of a bamboo needle, because you'll find what's really nice about wood is it warms up in your hand. So as you're using your tool, the handle will warm up a little bit, and then it will become a little bit more malleable. So it kind of really moves with your hand as you're pulling your yarn through. So you might prefer that. But yeah, this is just an example of some different types of crochet hooks. And you're probably going, oh, that's quite a collection you got there. You haven't seen them all. I probably have about another 50 plus hooks. Something I've acquired over the years as I've been self-taught for so many years. What else you're going to need? I did talk to you guys. I did show you a video about yarn. This one I love particularly. Not to bring up a sore subject with some of you people with Hobby Lobby, but Hobby Lobby will have a lot of stuff reduced or on sale sometimes. So I do like to go in there and snag myself a couple of skeins of their reduced yarn. Usually the times when yarn becomes reduced is if the color scheme hasn't been selling really well, or maybe on the other end it has sold really well and now they're only down to like maybe 5 to 10 skeins. And it's really important that you look for that when you're picking out your yarn. I know I showed or shared a video about how important it is to read your yarn label, but I'm going to do that real quickly here so you understand a little bit better. I should say, not every, most of your more commonly produced yarns, you need to understand, are mostly plastic. So for some of you, you're not going to like that. It depends on what you're trying to make. For the more environmentally conscious crafters, we like to use higher end yarn. I don't recommend higher end yarn until you're good at your craft, because what this cost me at $1.74. You see here, it's hard to see that. This yarn right here is, I believe it's 100%. It's 100% acrylic. So there you go, 100% acrylic. And if you look at our little label here, you're going to see it says 174 yards. So that's important. You know, as we get down the road, we start talking about patterns and how to read patterns. Having 74 yards is not that much. Okay. For example, if I want to make a scarf, I will probably need 2 of these because I'll probably need at least 300 plus yardage. So what cost me maybe, you know, normal price on this one says $6.99. If I'm buying, let's say, the llama, I will spend anywhere between $12.99 all the way up to, well, the sky's the limit. It depends on the person that is spinning the fiber, what they've fed that animal, you know, all that fun stuff. So, I mean, I could be spending $12, $15, $20, $30 for one skein of 175 yard yarn while I'm learning. So I do recommend sticking with the cheaper stuff as you start out. Okay, don't put a lot of money into it yet. And even as I go down this rabbit hole here, I apologize, but as I go down this rabbit hole, I want to tell you, even as you get better at your craft and you're really, really good, any of my local business owners that watch this are going to agree with me on this one. No one is ever willing to pay you for all the effort and time you put into something. So I might go out there and I might buy 2 $30 skeins, and I try to charge $80, $90, right? Because I have to count the yarn and my time putting into it. That's still only that little bit of a markup. So I mean, because if I try to charge double or make a profit off of this, it just really doesn't happen. So I just, coming back from where I'm gone, just keep it simple. Okay, let's just keep it simple. Stick with the cheap yarn for now, and let's learn stuff. Something else on this label before we depart is I want to show you that, so yeah, on the cheaper label, the more affordable yarn, you're going to have these breakdowns of where it shows you what recommended hook. For example, if you see this, look at this really close here. The recommended hook on this one is an I9 or a 5.5 mm. So saw this earlier. It's recommending that I use this hook right here that says 5. See that? So it gives you recommendations. I say recommendations because, again, it goes back to that nasty word called tension. If you pull tighter, you're going to probably want to use, I would say, a larger hook. Okay? If you're really, really loose, you're going to want to use, with your stitches, you want to use a smaller hook. Okay? The higher end, the reason I shared the higher end stuff earlier was the higher end yarn usually will not give you this. The expectation is you know what you're doing, you know how to do swatches, you know about tension, you know about different types of yarns. So this is kind of built in. It's really nice for us intermediate and beginner crocheters. Okay. One last thing here. I talked about how there's different lots. Remember I told you sometimes yarn gets reduced because it only has so many skeins left, or some people call them skeins. I call them skeins. That's how I learned it. That's how it seems to be pronounced in the dictionary. But you're going to see here on this thing here, and even on the more advanced labels. Again, you're going, Robin, why are you not sharing a more advanced label? Let's see if I have one. Two. Here's a more advanced label. It's just, I don't know, looks a little bit Marsy. It does have some stuff on it. Let's see what we got here. So this one here, particular. Now you're going to notice that compared to this one, it doesn't give you the recommended. It does give you the recommended. I lied. Here it is. It does give it to you. It just shares it to you in a different way. So this is just an example of how two different labels can vary. And you're going to have to learn as you get better how to read your labels. We'll do a little bit more too because there's a lot of information right here. You're probably going, what is that? But yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, they have on the bottom here lot numbers. And that's important because as different batches of yarn are being made, let's see here, yeah, as different yarns are being made, the color will vary. All right, so the concentration of dye in one batch of yarn might not be as strong as the dye in another set of yarn. So here on this label here, you'll see it says lot. It's a little bright, but it's lot 7267. So if I'm going out and I am going to make a project and I know I need so much yardage, like this, for example, says 291 yards in this particular skein. Okay, that's about 300. And I know I'm going to need 400. I'm going to have to do what? I'm going to have to buy 2 of these skeins to have enough of the yardage. There's a lot of math involved with this too. So don't let that scare you away, but math plays a big part in crochet and knitting, okay, as you learn how to create your own patterns. But so yeah, for example, in this case, let's say I needed, what did I say, 400 yards? I'm going to need 2 of the skeins, okay, and I'm going to want to buy it from the same color lot, because if I go out and I buy one from this lot and one from another lot, you could potentially see a huge variance in your project color. Like something that could look a little bit more muted might become a little bit more brighter. And they do the best they can, but let's think about this. I mean, everything is kind of unique when it comes to yarn dyeing. So it's really important you buy the total amount of skeins you need from the same lot number. Okay, put this to the side. Look at this one real quickly. This lot number is 77108. And come back up here. We said it had 174 yards. Let's bring this down a little bit. Right. We're going to need what? If we need 400 yards, it's got 2 of those is about what? 350, right? So you're actually going to need 3 skeins of this. So what you might be buying, maybe you might buy 3 of these, you're going to buy 2 of these. So I just wanted to share that little piece with you. It's really important that you pay attention to your label because it can tell you a lot. Also, what's great, if you look at these labels, and I have so many of these from throughout the year, they give you patterns. So if you turn it over and you're like, oh crap, you know, I need something to do. I'm bored. Here you go. This provided a pattern for you. It's a cardigan. It gives you a skill level of medium. It tells you how many skeins, how to get started, so on and so forth. So that's also another little benefit of the yarn you buy. So I hope this helped you. I actually hope this recorded after talking to you guys for like 20, 30 minutes. But if you have any questions, reach out to me, shoot me a message underneath the video. I'll reply to it. I'm sure the quality is not the best, and I apologize for that, but we're just going to do the best that we can. I hope this camera angle works. I don't have one of those type of cameras that you can snap to your shirt, so it doesn't give you really the best point of view, as bird's eye point of view, but I was able to kind of rig it in a way that it's somewhat acceptable. Okay. It's been a pleasure, guys. I hope to hear from you. I hope this helps you. I hope you don't get discouraged. If you are discouraged and you're not grasping what I just talked about, reach out to me. I will find you some different types of information that will help you better digest it. Thanks, guys. Until I talk to you soon. Bye-bye.